the great Air Paris, former WCW star and tag team partner of AJ Styles in the group Air Raid, one of the legends of Georgia wrestling, and now part of the Talkin' Shop Mania family. How you doing today, sir?
Man, I am doing good, brother. It's sort of weird, me and you doing a formal interview kind of on my end. I don't know how it feels for you, but stuff's good, brother. It's good to hear your voice. Man, the weather's hot. My kids and my grass are both growing way too fast, but other than that, man, my life is really, really good. I couldn't be 2020 is a strange time, though, man. If you had told me a year ago that I would be hanging out with some of the folks I've been hanging around and doing some of the things I've been doing, I would have probably laughed in your face. If you had told me that 10 years ago, I would have probably laughed at you. But sorry for the long intro. That's good, man. Thank you.
As I said to you, it feels awkward us doing a formal interview since we're kind of buddies and we talk all the time, informally.
Absolutely.
But I did want to talk to you because you obviously you made your comeback, I guess I should say, on Talkin' Shop Mania, and now you have a lot of things going on with Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson. But I wanted to talk to you about your career and kind of the arc of what happened with you, where you sort of went away and then came back. So let's start at the beginning. You came up in Georgia. You worked with Bill Behrens at NWA Wildside. You were a tag team partner and a rival of AJ Styles. So just tell me about your beginnings in the pro wrestling business.
Most of the wrestling stuff pre-Bill was kind of boring up until about the point where I met David Young and started wrestling against him. I was fortunate enough to get stuck against David one night in a little town somewhere in Georgia. I don't even know where. And it's one of those things where we talk about chemistry, man. And when you step in the ring with some folks, it's easy. I mean, it's one of those things where you don't have to really think about it. You just kind of know where each other's going after a bit. And David's one of those people. David and AJ were a couple of those people. A guy named Bobby Hayes from here in Georgia. Just people I didn't have to really call a lot of stuff with. We always knew where we wanted to go based on where we were and stuff. So got put with David. David helped me get booked in front of Bill Behrens, and Bill kind of took me under his wing. And I actually said it in an interview recently. Bill's one of those guys. If Bill believes in you and you believe enough in yourself to work hard, that Bill Behrens he'll run through a wall for you. He will work harder day and night for anybody that wants to be helped. He's the best help you could ever ask for. And thank God I was fortunate enough to come across Bill Behrens.
You and AJ originally were rivals in Wildside, and then you ended up going to WCW and becoming partners.
Yeah, it was a weird deal, man. Once we kind of fast forwarded to me and AJ, that was one of those chance happenings. Bill had us against each other, and we worked every possible combination of a match. Like, I'm surprised that we kept selling out shows there. I mean, the arena's not huge or anything, but we went from, I think I was a heel and I was the babyface, he was the heel. And then we swapped and we worked tags and we were partners, we were rivals, we worked 6-man, like 8-man elimination matches, like every single match type you can basically think of, we worked against each other. And not sure which match it was to begin with, but it's one of those things, man. We got out there and we were both green as grass and it just kind of clicked, man. It was one of those things where it's tough to not realize, hey, this guy's special. And at that point I'd been wrestling for about probably 7 years because I started so young, and thankfully him and Bill both trusted me enough to kind of let me steer that ship a little bit, because Alan had been in the business a little bit shorter time than I had. So thankfully he trusted me to kind of call stuff and know that I wouldn't do anything that would hurt him or to make him look any less than me or vice versa. Or, one of those things that once we just got in the ring, it clicked, man. I've been, I don't want to say I lived here, but I'll definitely tell you that I was extremely, extremely fortunate to work with some really awesome people. That's if you get put with good people, it's hard to have bad matches. And I was just really grateful to be able to work with all those guys.
You mentioned that you were kind of the veteran already. Did you know right away that Alan was special?
Oh, we all did. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, just from Kind of being around and just, he's the same guy now that he was 20 years ago. Well, he's got longer hair. I think at one point when he grew his hair out, Wendy said something about she had messaged me and said that he stole my hairstyle or something like that. Just being funny. That's a headline that does not need to make its rounds in the wrestling business. I don't need hair heat. But yeah, man. It's just one of those things, man. We saw him and he was doing things that nobody else could do. I think he got in the ring and bumped for 2 or 3 times and had a flat back bump down and was ready to start doing rolls and front bumps and all that stuff. So some people are just gifted athletically, and he's one of those people. There was never anything. I would be playing a video game, and I think it was Tekken. Maybe that shows I'm showing my age. I want to say Tekken 2 or 3, but I think it was the original Tekken. And there was a move where one of the characters would catch like the kick and then just basically spin and kind of jump in the air, and the other character would spin way up to the top of the screen, just vertically or like horizontally, I mean, and then come back down. And I asked AJ, I said, man, you think if I caught your kick and I did this, you could do the spin? He's like, how many times do you want me to spin? So we did it. I think we actually did it in our dark match too. And we just called it the video game move. And I mean, never worked on it. Just asked him if he could do it. The next thing you know, I'm doing this completely farce of a move, but he does like 8 spins before he hits the ground just from flat-footed on one foot. That's definitely special athletically.
When you guys got the call up to WCW and you were paired together as a tag team, what was on your mind?
Staying out of everybody's way, man. It's a lot of people to hear that probably may find that hard to believe, because at Wildside and Music City and NWA Worldwide, I did my best to stay in everybody's way. I tried to be the center of attention. I thought I was a little bit better than I was. I was pretty certain of myself at that point. But once you get to that level, and I realized just how very, very little of a piece of the wrestling business I was. I mean, when you're around everybody that you grew up watching, from Ric Flair to Luger to Hogan and Sting and all these guys, and your check's going to have it won't have the same numbers on it, but it's got the same name and same company on it. That's a big deal, man. So I kind of laid low and just didn't want to mess anything up. Thankfully, I had some friends there from, the times I'd worked with before, from like 3 Count and those guys and Brian Clark. And so I had a bit of a comfort net, but for the most part, man, I just didn't want to screw it up.
You talked to me in the past about how sure you were of yourself when you were young, but how many butterflies did you have in your stomach the first night you went out on live TV?
Man, I'll be honest with you. I have zero recollection of that first one. It's because, if it's okay, I'll tell the story real quick. So, do we have time for that one?
Yeah, go ahead, fire away.
Yeah, so we got booked as extras on Nitro. I mean, this is my first exposure to that situation.
Is this when you were on the Run and Bump team?
No, gosh, this is the absolute very R&B of the Run and Bump security. I need to make one of those, like a knockoff Steve Austin shirt.
No, you'll have to give James Storm some of the royalties for that, because that's the one that he's the guy that told me that. You guys used to call it the Run and Bump team.
You remember the Steve Austin shirts that says "Arrive, Raise Hell, Leave"? I need one that says "Run in, Bump, Leave." That's what we need to. I'm gonna have that shirt at ProWrestlingTees.com/Air Paris. Just kidding. But no, I actually did run in and bump this night. I just didn't have the red and black T-shirt on. Got there and they said, "Hey, we need somebody to be a paramedic," and they picked the guy with the longest hair, which was kind of odd. But me and a guy named TJ Gray, who was a wrestler who worked for Wildside, and also Music City for a while. We were paramedics, and so my very first exposure to a big company, and I ran in as a paramedic to save Sid Vicious from the new Silver and Black NWO, which was Bret Hart and Jeff Jarrett. So my first time in a WCW ring, I was in the ring with the Hitman and Double J and Sid. Insane, just completely insane.
So once you guys finally established yourself as Air Raid, obviously the company didn't last much longer than that, but did you guys really think at the time that, hey, this is going to be something big?
Well, there were people within the company who were pulling for us. And I don't want to try to name folks because if I do, I'll leave somebody out or I'll misquote somebody's name because it's been so long. But, some of the office folks like Terry Taylor, I'll name Terry because I'm confident Terry was always on our side. Forgive me. Terry was one of those people who was like, hey, you guys are, you're brand new. We're going to try to give you guys a shot. We're, this cruiserweight tag thing. And they gave us a gimmick, which they hadn't. Most of the people who were in that cruiserweight tag division, they were either just thrown together or like Ray and Kidman, they'd done their own thing. That wasn't a gimmick that was really given to them. They were just hanging out and being buddies and that stuff. So for them to put some money into doing a little bit of a lighting rig, doing the air raid lights and all that stuff, it was really cool, man. And of course, it's hard not to when you see that kind of stuff and you're standing on the ramp and you get to see this big video wall with your face on it, and there's a song that's specifically for you, and it's hard not to have big dreams and visions of it, man. It's and those hopes, man. They're great to have, but when they get pulled out from under you, it's a pretty big bummer sometimes, man. 2001 was a pretty big bummer.
How much did you guys like the Top Gun gimmick that you got?
Not very much. I'll be honest with you. I'll tell you who loved it was Kaz Hayashi. He thought it was hilarious. Kaz kept yelling Top Gun at us just all the day. As soon as he saw us with the flight suits and stuff. And it's funny talking about somebody who's athletically gifted. Now, just sidebar for the air raid stuff, but when we worked Young Dragons, I called that kick where I was on the apron. If you'll watch it, it looked. I thought Kaz had done that because he was like a smaller Muta, man, just unreal. If people are sleeping on Kaz Hash's work, go watch it.
Yeah, amazing,
unreal. Unbelievable. Just a smaller Muta is the way I describe him. But I called this kick where he does like a springboard and he comes over and he kicks me and I'm on the apron and all this and he's like, sure, he's like, hey, I'll do it. And I thought he had done it before. It's the one he does the little airplane. Throws his arms out and runs around like an airplane right before he does it. That's why he kept yelling Top Gun at us all day. But yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where AJ said it before in interviews. If they wanted a fighter pilot, they were going to get the very best, fighter pilot they could get out of AJ. I took that flight suit off strangely because I hated spandex, but I took that flight suit off as quickly as I could in the ring as soon as we got in there. They actually wanted us to wrestle in those things. They wanted us to wear that like a mechanic's bodysuit coverall for the whole match, which would have been great for my self-esteem covering up, but it would have been terrible for my cardiovascular stamina at that point.
Well, after everything kind of broke down with WCW, you sort of got out of the business. What led to you kind of leaving wrestling for a while?
Man, it's one of those things, and it's so dumb. And I hate to use the same verbiage I've used in other interviews, but honestly, man, 21 years old, you should never make decisions for yourself. I don't believe. I think we ought to raise those ages, up quite a bit because even though I'd been wrestling for 7 years at that point, I was 21 years old. I had the rest of my life ahead of me, and the world was right there. I mean, I was already at this point. All I had to do was keep pushing, and who knows what would have happened, good or bad, but to be so close, I was there, I was at least, my foot was in the door for me to get that rug pulled out from under me. Basically, I just kind of sulked up and pouted. I got a call from Johnny Ace when I was in California. I went out for an indie run. I got a call for the last minute right after we were on our last show that we were booked on. And so I was out there and I get a call from Johnny Ace and he's like, hey, I love you guys. Give me 6 months in the company. I'm going to bring you guys up. I'm going to do everything I can for you. I said, okay, so what do we do now? Like the last day of your contract is May 11th, which is my birthday. So the last day of mine and Alan's contracts, I believe his was ended the same day. It was on my birthday. So my birthday, 2001, it's not one that I look back on with the greatest fondness, but, I just I took that, and instead of using it as motivation, which, 40-year-old me now, me well enough around, we talk a lot. I take a little bit of fire and I make that into a big bonfire motivation nowadays. Just like trying to get, when I was losing the weight, getting fit and telling you every day, hey, dude, I've lost this much weight, or I'm doing this, or this is where I'm at, and just keeping you up. And I apologize for all that bother, by the way. I appreciate
No,
you.
it's not a bother, believe me.
But man, if 40-year-old me could do that over again, you would probably have seen me and AJ in the main event of TNA wrestling at least once. I believe I probably could have made it there at least because I knew Jeff and had a good relationship there. But it's one of those things, man. I try not to regret anything. Just look back on stuff with just different color. Take mistakes that I made in the past and learn from them rather than looking back on them and wishing I could change them at that point, man. My girls now and Susie, and dude, life is just really, really good. And now all this wrestling stuff's starting to come back, creeping back around me sort of full circle.
Well, it's so funny because you talk about, the time that you stepped away from wrestling, but in the meantime, you built a family, and now your girls are having the chance to enjoy, the fact that you're connected to the pro wrestling world. And I think that's probably the greatest joy you have in your life now.
Oh, absolutely, man. There's nothing like being a dad. That's the one. I mean, just the same. So there's nothing better than being a dad, and that's the one thing I tell everybody. I may not be the best husband or the best son or the best brother, but I'm going to do everything in my power to be the best dad those girls could ever have. So that's the motivation, man. That's what we try to do. That's why we do everything every day, everything we do. It's a reflection just on the way those girls are going to come up. So, man, I love being a dad. I'm a girl dad too. If everybody doesn't know, I've got two girls. I have Perry, who's 8.5. She's my she's my angel. Acts a whole lot like her mama. And apparently like me when I'm not around. She only acts like that to her mama. And then our little Piper, she's 2.5. She's my fun one. She scares me a little bit. She is definitely Frank Paris's child. She's not gonna let anybody get over on her, brother. She's not gonna. No jobs, brother. No jobs.
Well, let's talk about you. Being in Talking Chopamania, making your quick appearance there, and how much fun that had to be. I mean, just not only being a part of it, but also getting to reunite with people that you worked with in the past. How much fun did you have with that?
Oh my gosh, dude, that was. How much fun did you have watching it? Let me ask that first.
Oh, I laughed my ass off.
Imagine being right there for it. Like while these guys are doing it, man,
I wish I was there.
Man, I'll be honest with you. It's one of those things where, Gallows reached out to me and asked me to be a part, which blew me away. I mean, we've been, kind of long distance buddies for a couple few years now. And, man, good brother's not a gimmick with that guy. Him and Carl now, or Chad, those guys have treated me just beyond well. And Rocky Romero too. Rocky Romero knew who I was, dude. You know how big that popped to me massively that Rocky knew who I was. I'm such a fan. But yeah, man, when he reached out, I kind of thought, and I was a bit nervous about it. And I thought, you know what? I'll never get a chance to do something like this again. Why not? So I went and I did my part. And I of course, as a dad, I kept my part a little PG as best I could. But man, just to watch those guys and here, a testament to those guys, even though they're so creative and they're so funny, they're pros, man. I don't think I saw them have to like do another take on just maybe one thing a few times. I didn't see them have to reshoot a whole lot, man. And they kept breaking everybody around them. Everybody around them was popping. I'm surprised they didn't hear it on the audio because we had a pretty good group there, but just so funny. And for all that stuff to basically be improv and just so good, man. That thing will be something that people talk about outside pro wrestling. That's going to be one of those, I hate to use the term cult classic, but that's going to be one of those things that people watch for, 50 years and laugh about. It's just so well done. People that don't like wrestling would have just an absolute amazing time watching that. It's that good.
And before we wrap up, what do you think about some of these, the way wrestling is going now, where it's more like it's mini movies now, like stuff like Talking Chopamania or Total Nonstop Deletion or the Boneyard match that WWE did. What do you think about the fact that it's kind of wrestling's kind of gone Hollywood at this point?
Well, I mean, I'm so happy to, with all the negativity and all the just the I don't know what to say, just the darkness that surrounded 2020, man. Our world just needs positivity, man. We need light.
Yeah.
And for wrestling and those guys, and girls too, to go out and do what they've done and adapt and be able to change, still entertain people. And people are going to say, oh, this isn't entertaining, or this stinks, or this isn't good. You know what? That, man, if you don't like it, just turn the channel. It's so easy to just not watch something rather than just pile negativity on. There's no reason to add more to the low morale that 2020's brought to us all, But I love it, man. I'll be honest. I was actually at the pay-per-view. I believe was it Bound for Glory 16, where the Hardys and Decay did the final deletion. I believe that's the one I was at.
Carolina, was that?
No, I was at the one they did in Orlando. I can't. I think they were driving down the interstate in a truck shooting fireworks at each other or something.
Yeah, just crazy stuff. But you know what? Yeah. But it was something. It was creative at the time.
You know what? And it blew my mind, man, because it was something I had never seen. And in full transparency, at that point, I wasn't really following Impact, or what they had been doing. I was fortunate enough to be, we were at Disney, and Storm invited me over, and Borash and those guys took care of me. But man, it's just so creative. And honestly, had Matt Hardy and Borash and those guys not come up with that, what would we be doing for pro wrestling entertainment right now in 2020? That seed, if it had never been planted, then we may just be, we may be watching replays of old Nitros or Raw or something on television. So I love it, man. WrestleMania this year, I texted AJ just as soon as that. I'm sure I'm one of 1,000 people that texted him as soon as it was over, but I just congratulated him so big, him and Borash both, on something that was it was a masterpiece, man. It was part Roadhouse, it was part Metallica video, it was part WWE, it was part Western. It was all those things rolled up into one. It was just perfect, and it's what I think WrestleMania this year, and probably pro wrestling overall this year. Besides talking Shopomania and my 15 seconds of fame, that I think that's what pro wrestling this year will be remembered, fondly for.
Well, you're going to have more than 15 seconds of fame, because apparently you got a fight on your hands coming up in a couple of weeks.
That's what I'm hearing, man. I am beyond proud to announce that I will be working with Lariato Pro Wrestling Guild here in Georgia on August 22nd in Forsyth.
And as far as any more work you're going to be doing with Gallows and Anderson, can you give us any insight on that?
Yep. As far as I've been told, as always, the card is subject to change. That little disclaimer at the bottom of everything. I need to get a card. I need to get a card subject to change tattoo. Is what I need. As far as I know, this 22nd in Forsyth, it will be not only a street fight with the big LG Doc Gallows himself, which is terrifying in a way, because the biggest, baddest, meanest member of the Bullet Club, or the club, or what, the Good Brothers, that is who I'm going to be facing August 22nd. Man, I'll be honest with you. Me and you have talked, and we've talked about me wrestling again, and I said I would never ever do it. I had no desire to wrestle. But if you get the opportunity to step into a match or a ring or a fight or however it is, or however it turns out, with one of the biggest stars in the business, that I have a ton of respect for. I don't know if I've even spilled this or let this cat out of the bag for you yet, but this is actually going to be taped for Impact Plus as well. So Impact is one of those companies I never got to work for. It's, I sort of took my ball and ran home, but man, I'm a fan. Ross Foreman invited me out, and I got to come and watch a show with my kids. You know about that. And if you're sleeping on Impact, you're doing yourself a disservice. So to be as loosely affiliated as anybody could ever be with those guys, the Good Brothers, and with Lariato Pro Wrestling Guild, and of course, Impact Wrestling on the outskirts, and being a part of something that's going to be on Impact Plus, man. 2020 is strange times, man. I think I told you once before. I don't know if I've ever said this in an interview. If you need a headline, here you go. But at signing with WCW and getting a contract at 21 was probably what killed my wrestling career. All that drive and desire that I had built up and was pushing forward with, when that rug got pulled out from under me, it was just gone, So had I not gotten that contract until, I was 25, 26, 27, I was more mature and could handle it, maybe I could have absorbed that loss of that contract. But basically, I give most of the credit for my wrestling career not being more to signing with WCW. Now, fast forward to 2020, and I've got I'm not going to say I have a wrestling career again, but at least my little footnote on my wrestling career that I used to have, I owe that to Talking Shop of Mania and Luke Gallows and Chad Too Bad, or, Carl Anderson, those guys, man, just, man, it's just amazing how big their reach is as far as taking care of folks. And I'll be honest, I'm not gonna go out there and let him beat me, though. I'm not gonna come back for a huge match and then lose. That's just 2020. You're not gonna get over on me, at least. So.
Yeah, well, I'll just tell you this: don't give Ross too much credit for anything.
No, Ross is, man. He is such a class act. The whole Impact.
He is awesome. He's awesome.
That whole Impact staff and roster, man. When we got invited to that show, just classy all the way around. And again, they treated us like VIPs and took such good care of my daughter and me and my wife as well. Just rolled out the red carpet for us, man. We had such a good time, and that's when me watching Impact reignited. So, man, they're really putting out great stuff. Impact's as good a wrestling product as there is right now, especially with some of the new acquisitions they've gotten.
I think they've made a lot of improvements in their show. They kind of went through a really strong period for a while, then they were down for a minute, and now they're coming back up. So, and they've obviously signed a lot of big names. It's got to be exciting to have the chance to work with them.
Again, I don't want to overstate or make anything sound like more than it is, because I'm definitely I'm working with Lariato Pro, which I'm stoked to do that. They run great shows here in the state of Georgia, and it's a lot of guys that I've known for a long time too, and I'm stoked about that. But to be loosely affiliated with Impact and all the good things they're doing, man, it is terribly exciting. I just feel bad for those guys on Twitter because they keep getting tagged and stuff with me on it all the time. But
that's my fault. I'm doing that too. Shit.
No, but dude, it's an exciting time for wrestling fans, man. I know everybody wants to take and take a negative stance on. Just enjoy it. Suspend your disbelief. That willful suspension of disbelief is a great thing, man. Go back and enjoy wrestling just for what it is entertainment, and have fun. I don't know if there's a better roster right now. Impact's just building it up. I'll tell you who I'm excited to see and see how he does when he gets given a bit more free reign is Brian Myers. I'm excited. He's in killer shape, and I enjoy watching him hunt for wrestling action figures. So I can't wait to see what he does in Impact when he's cut loose a little bit, man.
Well, when it's all said and done, and I'm going to wrap it up with this. You had your run in WCW, you had your run obviously before that in Wildside, but with this last run or whatever you end up doing in wrestling, what do you want your legacy to be, and what do you want your kids to think about your wrestling career?
Man, I don't know if I was.
I didn't mean to give you a real hard question at the end.
No, you're good. No, man, I just and I don't want to. I don't know how to
don't get sentimental on me now.
No. I don't know how to say this because people that knew me when I was 21, I thought I was going to be a 15-time world champion. I was Ric Flair at that point. I don't want it to seem like false humility, because it's definitely not. I've said in other interviews too, humility is a great lesson to learn. I learned it at 21. I've taken it to heart, and I've had that attribute ever since. But I'm not sure I was a big enough part of pro wrestling to have a legacy. I have some attachments with wrestling, and thank God that if my name is forever going to be associated with anybody, it's associated with AJ, somebody of high moral character, just a good person, good family person, treats my kid well, just happens to be the greatest pro wrestler in the world for the last 20 years, right? So to have my name attached, maybe not so much for him, but for me, my little wrestling career, to have it attached to somebody like that, it's wait for it. That's pretty phenomenal.
Yeah, nice, very nicely done. Well, I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much for your time.
Oh, dude, anytime, man. I appreciate you having me, and just don't forget to send me your address. I need to send Miss Gwendolyn her gifts.
Oh gosh,
Hey, do you?
sad. You know what's so sad is that we actually know each other's kids now and wives. This is how pathetic we've gotten. We're just like a bunch of old guys just
We're just
talking shit.
we're old brothers. That's who we are. Hey, do you mind if I push the little T-shirt deal that we're doing for
No,
charity real quick?
no, go right ahead.
Yeah, so we started a Pro Wrestling Tees store, prowrestlingtees.com/Air Paris. We have some really cool designs. The one that looks like the old, it doesn't look like it. It looks very similar to the old 2001 WCW logo, except it says Air Raid 2001 in there. It's pretty cool. We just uploaded a new, like a
It's the
sort of a.
perfect ripoff.
It's close enough to not get me sued. It's what it is.
Yeah, that's the deal. Don't get sued.
But the cool thing about it is, my daughter wanted a shirt from Dad's Wrestling, and she loves AJ too. So I thought it was kind of cool. I'm taking 0 dimes or dollars or any profit from the shirts. Everything that Pro Wrestling Tees sends us from each shirt is going into a separate bank account. We're saving that until the first week of December. And then through the local sheriff here in my hometown, who's a great guy, and he knows his community, and he knows who will need the help and who will use it the right way. My daughter, not me. All I'm going to do is draw the money out of the bank and give to her, but she's going to take a check down to the sheriff's office and donate that to a family in need for Christmas, sort of anonymously. So hopefully we can sell a few shirts, get a little air raid hype going, and do some good for some folks who could use some help around Christmas time this year. 2020 has been tough.
Shirts on Pro Wrestling Tees, don't you?
Yeah, and we're actually working on another one. I haven't put this out there yet, but I'm going to plug my art guy as well. Brandon Hillis, Hillis art on Twitter is my guy. If you need any sort of art done, he is the man. We're actually working on a Roots of Fight style shirt right now that's going to say Air Raid and then Cruiserweight Tag Team, and then at the bottom, instead of putting Atlanta or something, we're going to have Cornelia, Georgia, because that's where Wildside was. So pretty cool little design.
And I have to ask you before I let you go, how often do you keep up with AJ and Bill Behrens these days?
I've messaged back and forth with Bill today.
I did today. Actually, I believe I did today as well.
Bill's one of those blessings in my life. It's sort of like I tell people, things I'm thankful for. Right, we do this every November. One of the things I'm thankful for is whenever I call my mom, she always answers. Right, and if I call my dad, he always answers. So right there in that same vein, if I need Bill, he always answers me. That's, people can take that, for sappiness or whatever, but Bill's one of those people who's never, even when it was bad me, he didn't run me away. Bill always embraced me. So and then AJ, man, when it's one of those things where those guys are so busy, and when he's home, I know he wants to be, just home with his family. I'm sort of the same way, but man, anytime. I mean, if I text, he replies and right back. So it's not an everyday thing, but man, he knows if he ever needs me for anything, that I'd be right there. And I guarantee if I ever needed anything, or if I wasn't here and the girls needed something, I would bet my life on it that Alan and his family would be right there for him.
That is outstanding. Well, I can tell you that in my experience, you were one of the best guys that I've ever known in the pro wrestling business, and I really appreciate your time.